Please come join us every Sunday evening at 8:35 p.m. Eastern. We simulcast on this channel, and you can find us over at Liberty Hill Comics with Dr. Paul. Well, here's a bit of a treat that came to us today, as a matter of fact. Wonderworld Comics number 9. Now, this was published by Fox Features Syndicated in January of 1940, so it is actually a pre-war book, which is really great. And now, this is a purple label. It's CGC restored. So I'll bring it up here so you can see it. Hopefully we don't get any glare in here. And I'll read it to you. It says, restoration includes a small amount of glue on spine of cover. So what we're going to do here is we're going to see if we can get this glue off. We're going to do a conservation on it, and we'll clean it up and see what else is there. At first glance, it's got 1939 written in pencil. Another pencil mark over here. There's a chunk missing out of the corner here, which we can fill that with a leaf cast. Another piece out of here. We do have pencil on the back. The rear cover is extremely dirty. So I think we have a great project, and let's see if we can give this a little bit of a grade bump in the conserve zone and get rid of all this glue, and go from there. Let's go ahead and open it up and see what we're looking at. Okay, here we have it. So at first glance, oh, here, right there. Okay, so the first wrap is glued to the cover. That's going to be problem number 1. That's the main problem, I think. And it looks like the staple just popped and it's barely hanging in there. So the microchamber paper is removed. But looking at these pages, I'm not seeing any tears or splits. Wonderful colors. So it's got a nice cream color to the pages. So we'll see if we'll get, once we start doing the de-acidification, that'll probably lighten a little bit. A lot of pages in this book. So generally speaking, okay, there we have it there. The whole thing is split in half. Okay, so what we have here is the interior wraps look really good. The first wrap is glued to the cover, and then both of those are split completely in half. So this isn't a horrible challenge. This isn't something we haven't done before. So I think for the most part this entire project is going to be the cover wrap and this first wrap. So we'll get these separated, get all that glue off of there. I think the best course of action here would be to leaf cast everything back together. So I don't think we're going to do any chemical immersion to get the glue off. So looking at the the center wraps, everything looks really good. Everything's tight. The staples look great. No chews or bites out of it. No wormholes. We've dealt with those before. So I think this, I won't call it an easy project. These interior wraps are fairly straightforward. We'll just get the staple out and clean and press all the pages. Yeah, get everything de-acidified. This has great color. It's got great shine. But we do have this slight problem of getting the halves back together. All right, so we have a project. All right, folks, we're going to start on our Wonderworld number 9. This is, again, a fairly expensive comic book once it's put back together. So we've got some things going on, which we looked at in the previous video. However, I've had some people ask in our chats and online is for a refresher on how I de-acidify a wrap. So I'm going to take this out. And as you know, we have pieces. So I'm going to separate the pieces and we're going to come to our wraps. And I'm just going to do, this is page 3, this will be our second wrap of the book. So we're going to work on this. As you can see, the staple holes are busted out. We got some gaps here, some paper, things like that. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you exactly how we do it. I keep some Polytex over here off to the side. So let me take this out for a moment. I put a piece of Polytex down here. And we lay this down so it's spine up. You see the arch right there. Now, the reason we do this is that so when we press down, now some of my fellow conservators don't use a second sheet. I actually prefer it. It just helps me handle the page a lot better and a lot easier. So I'll lay this down on top. Now, the recipe, which is going to be in the notes, this is 300 milliliters of calcium hydroxide. Now this is a 25% solution, meaning that I mix up a pure solution of calcium hydroxide, then I dilute that down to a 4:1 or even a 3:1 ratio. In this particular case, this is a 3:1 ratio. Now what this is going to do, calcium hydroxide, think of it as a Tums for your comic. It's going to take and remove and pull the acids out. Is it going to remove some of the tanning that you see? Possibly, most likely it will. And what we'll do is I'll demonstrate this, and I'm not going to lapse any times, but I want to show you some things with the colors. So this is the first time doing this book. So first thing I want you to do, you can do it like me, is I press down on the spine, then I just pour this. And I know this is not for the faint of heart, getting a wrap wet. Okay, so you notice it soaked up the liquid almost immediately. That's the first sign that there is very little sizing left in the paper, which is what printers use to retain the ink. Press everything down smooth. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to agitate this just a little bit. So what we're trying to do is we're checking, and I like to use these trays. In case you're wondering where I got this tray, this is a serving tray from Walmart, Better Homes and Gardens. It's about $11, just go to your regular Walmart. I put tape on the handles so the solution doesn't get loose. And all I'm doing here is taking the acid out of the paper. Now, I'll show it to you in a minute. I can tell by the smell. It's got a very strong well, it doesn't smell good. You know, it's not. It's got not a mildewy smell, but you know, kind of like trash can juice smell. It just wafts off. It's very stinky. So what we want to do is, you know, part of the grading process at CGC is they do smell the books, as funny as that sounds, because that tells them the condition of the paper. So what we're also doing by taking this acid out of the paper is conditioning it. Now I'm making this wrap nice and flat. So we've been working on this not that long, and the color is starting to change. You know, this is how I agitate things. I just let the fluid wash over, and you know, that second piece of Polytex allows me to push down and hold things so it doesn't lose any of its. Well, I guess I can see ink and things like that come up through it. So what I want to show you here, and I just lost my camera here. Let me get this back online. Okay, so the camera's back. So again, we're just agitating this. Now I'm going to pour this off back into our beaker here. I'll do that in a moment. Right now I'm just going to continue, and if you can see here, you see that nice golden color? That's what we're looking for. That is just the tans from the book. Now you see any color change, such as blue or red or green, that's a mixture of colors for the inks. And that's not what we want. If you see that, I want you to stop immediately and don't continue any further. Because the sizing is now gone from your book, it has lost its ability to hold the ink to the paper, and you're going to start seeing a lot of runoff here. So as you can see, and we haven't been doing this very long, and it gets that nice color to it. And I say nice, it kind of looks like apple juice or Mountain Dew or something you did in the morning when you woke up. So looking at this, you can see it has, let's give it a little bit of a white background here. It's got a lot of yellow in it, which is what we are after. We want to get rid of the acids that are in the paper. So we have that down now. So we've drained this, and now we want to go into the rinsing process. Now what is in this? This is calcium hydroxide, as I said. You notice it's got some suds in it. That is a surfactant, and I used Triton X100, just a little bit in it, and that's enough to put some soap in and wash it, but it doesn't leave any residue behind. You'll see some conservators use dishwashing liquid. I don't recommend this because there are other chemicals in the dishwashing liquid. I recommend getting a more lab grade surfactant. And Triton X100 is available on Amazon. I'm not trying to pitch my website, but if you want to go to my Amazon page, which is also linked in the description, you can order any number of these things that I'm showing you. Okay, so that is our first wash. Simple as that. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go give it 2 more rinses of pure calcium hydroxide, no surfactant in it whatsoever. So I'm going to show you 1. There's no reason to show you 2, but that is just to get all of the soap and surfactant out of it, and then we're left with a pure page. Okay, so I've added this is our second wash. So we just did our first wash with the surfactant in it. You still see there's a little bit of sudsing in here, and that's just the residual what's in the paper. So we're going to go ahead and roll this around some more, and we're going to try and get a little bit more of that yellow color out. Ideally, you want to, get all the acids out, you would have to run it to where everything runs clear. We're not going to do that. Books of this age, if we did that, it's not that you would end up with a bone white page. That's not going to happen. But too much is not necessarily the best thing you want to do. We want to keep those inks, we want to keep those colors vibrant, so this is the best way to do it. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, you'll notice that this section in the middle is the darkest section, a little bit on the outer edge. The outer edge is basically what's exposed to the atmosphere. And also, this inner edge is dark because of a similar thing. Basically, that is the edge, the outer edge where the bind is for the book, and air does get in there. And this paper is oxidized. Technically, it would it's brittle. We're going to try to keep some life in it and take some of this nastiness out, which we're doing. Again, you can see it's a little bit lighter here in the corner. I'll hold that up to the camera. Again, we've been rinsing this live. So people ask, how long do you do this, Larry? Well, I think the best course of action is 3 to 5 minutes. I would say at least 3 minutes. Keep an eye on everything. Like I said, you don't want to lose any of that ink. And if you see anything change, especially the color of this, going from a clear yellowish color to a red or blue or green, stop what you're doing. Okay, so this has been going on for about 3 minutes now. I'm just guessing. I don't have a clock at it, but just going by the fact that I talk a lot. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Actually, I can look at the camera right here. It says we've been at 2 minutes and 48 seconds. So now I know exactly how long it's been. So this is enough. I'll just let it run to a few more seconds so we get to our full 3 minutes. All right, looking good. There's 3 minutes right there. So let's go ahead and pour this one off as well. Okay, now I forgot that I actually have a new camera. I can actually show you a side view. So let me lower this camera down here, and I'll turn it up, head from the side. That's kind of upside down, so let's do it this way. And there. Now you can see how yellow this actually is. There we go. So this is just the second washing of this wrap. We're going to do one more. I never do any more than 3 washings. Then you're actually going to cause harm to the wrap. Okay, so let's go back here and we'll set up for our third and final rinse here. Now I gotta get my camera back the way it was. Okay, so there we are. So we'll pour this off and we'll come back with our third and final rinse. Okay, and now we're back for our final rinse. This is nothing but straight calcium hydroxide at a 25% ratio. And you notice our suds are gone now. Everything is looking good. And this is really just continuing to get out any leftover acids and get out any remaining surfactant out of the book. We don't want to have any soap lingering in the paper. That causes other issues such as additional brittleness. So let's just go ahead and keep this going. It's nice and submerged. This wrap looks really good. And you can see from the pictures here, we do have right where the staples are, this is pulled through completely, so that'll have to be repaired, as will this. Now, since we're going to be leaf casting on this book, I will use leaf casting to fill in the gaps. And people ask, how's leaf casting work? Well, stay tuned. we're basically going to pull a liquid paper pulp through all the gaps. We're going to fill in this up here. We'll trim everything out. And through the process of hydrogen bonding, now that's something that we'll talk about a little bit later when we actually do the leaf casting. We bond new paper fibers into these holes. Now people ask, are you going to get a blue label, Larry? Well, no, we're not going to get a blue label. We are going to get a kind of a blue-gray conserved label on this book, which is all we're after. You got to remember what we do here at our channel is conservation. We are preserving these books for the next 100 years. If you don't do what we're doing to these books by removing the acid from the wraps, they will continue to deteriorate. In 20, 30 years, these things will be nothing but powder. So by taking the acids out, we can't bring back what's already gone, but we can stop the deterioration. You wonder how documents from 1,000 years ago are preserved and why paper from the last 60 years disintegrates. Well, it's the process how it's made, and it's also how it's preserved. You gotta remember these documents are handled by conservation experts, and guess what they're doing? De-acidification, the same thing we're doing right here. So these books will, even though they may end up in a CGC slab, they will not deteriorate any more than they already have. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pour this off now. Now this one is also a bit on the yellow side, but not nearly as much. It's almost clear. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. Now we start the process of drying. So this is something that I'll show you. I'll demonstrate how I actually dry this book. It's very simple. Stand by. Okay, so let's start drying. And I have to give credit where credit is due. My good friend Jerry the Jitterbug. If you haven't been to his channel, go over there and check him out. He's got some amazing restoration work that he's done. He also is an inspiration to me on the work that I've done. One thing that Jerry taught me is to use paper towels. So just your simple brawny paper towels, and like Jerry, I also reuse them. I don't have any set up right now to go to, so I'm using some fresh ones, but I just take 2 layers here, folks, and I just lay this right over the top, and all I'm doing is just spreading it out and soaking up all the moisture. Now remember, I have Hollytex over both sides of this. This is something that's very important in the drying process. So I got that. So I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip it over. This is why I use 2 pieces. It makes it very easy to handle. So we'll take another piece of paper towels. We'll start soaking up this side now. Okay, so once that's done, I take this entire sandwich, flip it over. This first paper towel is completely soaked. Now, I'm not going to throw this away. I am going to set it aside and let it dry out, because there's nothing wrong with reusing your paper towels. It's just calcium hydroxide. It's not going to harm anything if you use it. So I'm going to put another layer here. Again, do the same process. Now you notice this tray is completely dry now, because it's all gone into these 2 paper towels. And you notice it's faded here. Now what that's from is you're actually looking at the Hollytex, because we're drying this wrap out completely. Okay. So I'm going to flip this one more time just so you can show you everything. Paper towel, Hollytex, and there's our wrap. It's slightly transparent because it's still wet. Now what we have to do now is dry it completely. Now for the informed, have seen some of my other videos, I do a heat press drying. I dry this under pressure and mild heat, let everything evaporate off, and because it's under pressure, it does not change the size of the paper. So if you have a heat press, and when I say heat press, I'm talking about a t-shirt press. They're available on Amazon for around $200. And I use this for pressing my books, but I also use it for drying the wraps. So let's go ahead and get this wrap dry, and we'll come back to it and look at it. It's going to be about 30 minutes, and we'll see what it looks like when it's dry. Okay, so the book is now dried. I should say the wrap is now dried. So let's take a look at it. It's clean, it's flat, it's been de-acidified. Now let's look at the brittleness of this book. This is a very, very old book. We're going to be gentle with it. I can see all the thinning through this center section, and it is stressed from all the years of bending and folding. But I think what we can do is just go ahead, and when we do our leaf casting, we'll fill in all this gap, the cracks, everything with microscopic fibers. We just draw those through the paper. So what's next for this wrap? I won't show it to you here, but we're going to save it for the next video. We're going to put this into the blue light chamber. What we want to do is go ahead and see if we can lighten it just a shade. And we're going to do this process to all of the wraps. And I realized that I didn't show you my method for drying this wrap in the heat press. It's only been about 30 minutes since we saw last. So what I'll do in my next video is I will set up the camera system so you can see exactly how I dry this wrap. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Whether you're new to comic book conservation or you're an expert, please come join us over the comic book conservation community on Facebook. We have over 300 members, and our discussions are only about comic book conservation methods and techniques. You'll find myself, Dr. Paul, Phantom Phil, Jerry the Jitterbug, and all other comic book conservation professionals and amateurs alike. So feel free, join us, and ask any questions. We'll see you on Sunday night.